The views expressed here are those of the authors and do not in any way represent the views of Sophia TV.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another edition of Ladies First. I'm joined here by my wonderful panellists Sada Russell and Nishat. Assalamu alaikum. Ladies, I wanted to talk about something a little bit more positive. Role models. We have wonderful role models during the month of Muharram, Lady Zainab, so many personalities. Do you think in 2016 we have positive role models for our community and our girls and our boys? And are there any that you can mention off the top of your head? And I wanted to ask you, who are your role models? So we'll start off with, do you look up to any personalities that are role models? That you
like
consider role models?
celebrities? I really don't know.
People will know in the public.
No.
Any Muslims that you can think of that have made you think, oh wow, well done?
No. No one it's such a shame, but no one I can think of, to be honest. I think the most recent one would be Nadia Hussain, who won the baking competition.
And why was she a role model?
Not because of what she won, but because of how she said she struggled in her life and she kind of persevered and she didn't have the confidence to enter this competition, but she persuaded herself, and it's just that she kind of built up her strength, but nothing more than that, to be honest. Nothing really.
And did you think she's a role model because she's a woman, or would it have mattered if it was a man?
No, it wouldn't have mattered. No.
Okay. Do you have any female positive?
I think in every single female I know, there is an element of a role that I find that I can gain something. I think, wow, subhanAllah, each person has something that reminds you actually of a strength that you feel that it actually rubs off on you. You actually feel like sisterhood is so important, that we should really support each other, understand that we're not rivals, we're actually sisters. And sisters, well, okay, there's no, the competition is with ourselves. Yes. Like if there is any such, competition we should have, it's just to better ourselves, and that means that we see the good in each other, and to encourage more good is to actually implement as much, become conscious of how we even treat each other, how we look at each other, how we shouldn't. I think it takes a kind of a level of maturity, as well as a sort of way of being more, confident, and that comes from knowing your value as a woman. And I think that each woman, especially mothers, if you see how much that they put, like being a great mother, having the patience that they have, you think, wow, that they don't have. This isn't a job. It's not a job. It's pure love that they're giving, and that is what keeps humanity going. Is the love that comes from the female, the mother, and even those who haven't become mothers, their potential, and the fact that they may not become a mother, maybe, but still they have an element in them that's very. They have this caring, this even if it's sort of the sacrifices that they give for. Bringing about, I think, the influence they have actually, whether it's supporting the husband or whether it's supporting or even educating their sons. They're the ones. Mothers are the ones that actually, or wives, or daughters, or all of these roles. These are the greatest. I can't say there's an individual, but I think everybody is.
What about celebrity-wise?
Look, that word celebrity, I think there's this fascination at the moment, right? I think we see people in the media, and I think, but in a way, maybe that there's not so many. I think actually just because of the fact that we're talking about fame and this sort of, that shouldn't be our drive ever.
But just seeing someone in hijab on
when
TV?
You see that, I think there's this. We have to be careful as well to be aware. As well as that there's so much, we don't question that the emphasis there is right now on women in hijab. Why is there this fascination that, look, we're trying to prove, women in hijab are actually liberated. But I find, look, yes, you can make you proud. There's somebody, like we can say someone who's of an Asian background or a white person or whatever. People seem to have this kind of like this pride with identity, like, oh, this is a Muslim woman who is breaking the whole what she's baking get the best cakes but on TV, but women have always known like the Muslim stereotype that women are like in the kitchen, but it doesn't prove anything really to me. I think I think in a sense, but it's wonderful. I would say I'm not going to deny it's nice to see. Or to see now, actually, we heard recently about the fashion, the first New York catwalk that was all the whole catwalk was hijabi, like modest clothes, and all of them were dressed in hijab on that one show. Where sometimes you might have the odd one, perhaps, and then it became. So we're coming to a stage where we're looking about commercialisation of how now hijab has become a fashion identity, a fashion industry, really.
So I was going to say, you know how we're always thinking about celebrities and these infallibles that should be our role models, like Bibi Zainab and what she did in Muharram, and so my community, my mosque came up with this drive which they called Fatima Inspires, and they said that you can nominate people that you think are your role models or people that have inspired you, and everyone was writing these little snippets about who they thought were most inspirational women to them, and I also obviously had to start with my mom, because she's her faith and how she comes out of everything that she goes through so strong in her spirituality, but I also, other than my mom, and how you said the love of a mother, it's amazing what a mother does for her kids, but then I also thought about two other women in my community that I thought really inspired me. And one, can I name names?
Yes, you can.
I said one auntie, I know her as Siddiqa auntie, and she does sign language, majalis in sign language. So, and she has in no way been affected by people that are deaf or are hard of hearing. But she went out of her way to do this for people who couldn't listen to majalis in Muharram. And all the 12 days, she got a group of people that she encourages to go train, and with her team she makes sure that the people who can't hear have majalis in sign language. How amazing is that? And my other auntie that I said was also very inspirational was Ummi Auntie Mirali, and I mean, I remember her before this thing came out, and she also does majalises, and she, in one of her majalis, she said, make sure you leave a legacy behind, and it's not just for one particular person, or because you're very knowledgeable, or because you have this position in your community, but every woman should be able to leave a legacy behind. It might be how you make your chapatis and how fluffy your chapatis are, and then I
or not.
And a few months later, we came up with this drive, and I'm thinking about her, and I'm thinking she has left such a big legacy with her Q City and Q Quran, and how she, and everything that she comes up with, and her majalis, and how she, when she gives her majalis to girls, she's talking to them in their level, and when she's talking to senior citizens, she's talking to them in their level. And I think it's so inspirational to have such women in our community.
Actually, when you were talking about naming, about people who have inspired us, she was the only data that came to mind.
Really?
Yeah, because when we were living abroad in Dubai, all the majalis were done by men. They were men-led, and women were in a separate room, separate hall. And then when we came to London, we thought that's it. There were going to be no more Imam Hussein majalis, because we didn't realise there was such a big Shia community, and there was a drive to keep the message of Imam Hussein alive. So we heard about Ummi Auntie's lectures, and me and my mum just turned up one day, and she was the first lecture she gave the first lecture I heard in London, and it just stayed with me like for years and years now. So whenever I see her, it like touches me a bit.
It does, doesn't it? And she's not only just she's part of the the Hero multi-faith community. She has a whole Saturday workshop that she holds, and she's just amazing. But then there's so many women like her out there. When we had this Fatima Inspires campaign, there were so many women. Like there was a lady, Razia Bai, we call she from Tanzania, who has been the head of the ladies madrasa for God knows how long, and how she's developed that into such a beautiful thing. So it's in every woman, there's this ability.
MashaAllah. I was going to say, going back to the conversation about having visible female role models, in this instance we'll call them celebrities because they're on media, whatever. But I think personally it's important for girls to see, because I think You do have, speaking about girls because it's a ladies program, but men can watch too. But I was thinking it is important because a lot of the time at a young age, you're looking for someone that looks like you or talks like you or has the most similarities with you. And so when you see somebody, you don't feel necessarily as alone or different, especially if you're Shia as well and you see another Shia doing something, it can inspire. So I think it's important many people would disagree when you have Muslim models, you have Muslim designers, you have Muslim presenters on mainstream TV. I think it's almost you're darned if you do and if you're darned if you don't. If you don't see any, you're like, well, excuse me, in London, how many Muslims are there? But if you do see one, you're like, well, I just feel that you put it there for, like a political...
But I don't necessarily see it as a role model, not necessarily as a role models, because sometimes it's, I just don't see that. Like, not, because I don't associate that just because they're out in the media that that's something I'm like kind of proud because that's part of my identity as a sort of I can connect, like, this is a hijabi woman who's made it in public eye, or I don't see it like that, but of course skilled people could be of any kind of but
like in reality it might be more difficult because you're wearing hijab in certain industries to be out there. Let's look at the Channel 4 controversy with the woman who reported on a terrorist event, and people were saying, was it really appropriate that she was wearing hijab and reported? And it's like, well,
we know Islamophobia being on the rise right now. That's probably one reason why we probably will feel that these people are a role model, because it's like we need somebody to show a positive side. Look, these are women in hijab. They're not oppressed. Look, they're winning competitions and they're on TV. They're running their shows on mainstream. Mainstream TV is like something that people are saying this is a success. Then,
but for us, they might not be role models, but for younger girls that go onto their, say for example, their Facebook page or any of the social media, and they see this woman has so many followers and so many likes or whatever, they do become role models for the younger generation, especially if you're just starting to wear hijab. I think it makes it easier when you see, like where I grew up, although I grew up in the Middle East, in my school there was not a single girl or teacher that was wearing hijab when I started wearing hijab. And my teachers physically brought me out into the hallway one day and tried to pull the hijab off me. So if I had someone around me that was wearing hijab, I think it would have been a lot more easier for me. Just to identify that you're the odd one out. So the fact that now there are so many, whenever I see a little schoolgirl in a hijab, like with those one-piece ones, it warms my heart because I feel it's not such a struggle anymore for them.
You would think it's not, but I think we're living with actually, isn't it sort of increase of with all the negative media on Islam. I mean, and women are very or girls in hijab are actually a target because this is a symbol of our faith, and it's also a symbol of oppression to the West, and we're constantly having to actually be not apologetic to some degree, yes, but also trying to defend that actually it's it is liberation for us, but actually we hear the stories where liberation is taking it off, for example.
But you know what, the hijab has always been attacked. I mean, one day I realised that why did the soldiers pull Sayyidah Zainab and the other ladies' hijab off? It's because it was for them, hijab was such a strong symbol that after everything that happened, these ladies were still modest and they were still covered, that they were forced to take the hijab off. So if after all the atrocity they still focused on the hijab, of course we are going to be targeted for our hijab as well. But it doesn't mean that because someone is in the media or like Nadia Hussein, she bakes a cake or something, that suddenly she becomes our role model. I think we can take positive things from it, but to say that she is the like something ideal or something that we should aim towards.
Well, what's wrong with that? I'm not trying to be horrible, but okay, the ladies of the camp of Imam Hussein is something more acceptable. As I said, they're infallible. Yeah. But to the regular Joe, you want to see somebody in the flesh that's striving or trying to.
Danger. There's recently that I forgot the lady's name, but she's an American TV presenter, and now she's being put on the magazine that is targeted at men. She's the first hijabi woman that has been put on the. Can I say the name of the magazine?
I don't think so at this stage, but I would.
So she was put on the magazine, and now there's a whole controversy of why is a Muslim muhajjaba woman on the
On that,
magazine
yeah.
that is
Targeted for men.
a disgusting magazine. So
I see.
because
right.
why?
Well, look, this is what I was trying to
Right.
So
say
where do you
earlier.
is she a role model because she's wearing hijab but she's behaving like that? How do we distinguish to our younger sisters and daughters that just because someone is in the limelight and they're wearing hijab, you don't look up to them because they're just like
That's
everybody
right.
else?
But this, the aspiration of the youth, actually, we need to be more educated on the fact that, educate the youth as well, that we're not living for likes of people, we're living to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what really, that's only feeding ego, and then people are becoming very, very, unfortunately, this is the era we're living in.
That's not everybody likes to be liked.
No, but listen, when they
In
say,
some
look,
way,
you're going
yeah.
to have,
No,
the success equates
I'm
how many
not sure.
followers you have. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
followers.
To a teenager, that is what's important because even
Okay.
in their friendship group, the more you're followed, the more you're the leader.
But that
the
doesn't
more
make it something
successful
to
you are.
aspire to.
I know,
No,
but
but
when they see someone who is in the limelight, who has a
Lots of
Muslim
followers.
name or has some connection to your culture or your religion, it makes it a lot easier to try and
I think
be
aspiring
a
to
follower
fame
of them.
is something that it just strips you from being true, really, I think.
No,
I think it's also
go ahead,
the
sorry.
identity crisis that we have with our kids. You know how we're saying that, being Shias and everything. There's nobody famous enough, from that group. Like for boys today, how can they relate to where they say,
I
know
can
what,
think of a couple.
I
But I'm
remember
not going to
one-
mention
Can I
names.
say one name? I remember a
Okay,
Muslim is his name Mahdi Hassan?
Yeah.
When he came from our community and then he started to be really controversial and like everybody started following him and he was doing amazing debates and stuff. I think that had a really
But
positive
he's
impact.
only more,
Right.
only more known in the Shia community, as a worldwide. He's not known worldwide. So, for example, when a
I think he is actually recognised because of his. I think I've heard from others that are non-Shia, that actually know and proud of him and say, this is a good example of a Shia.
So I'm talking about, things like that kids like to do today, like for example having a tattoo, and to have somebody that you can say, oh, this person is my religion and he does that, or to have, how they like to dress up today, and somebody that they can relate to and the whole world also can relate to.
I understand what you're saying, SubhanAllah. We've always had, this has been an age-old argument. When I was coming up, we had the same thing, like, who do we have to look up to? And, older people don't understand us and the struggles that we go through. But when you were younger, did you think you recognised how important the role of your mothers were? Or is it now that you're older that you appreciate
I really
what they
appreciate
stood
it
for?
now. And we were actually talking about this the other day.
Yeah.
Now we were talking about how we thought at the time our mothers were extremely
Embarrassing.
not embarrassing, but really restrictive. Like we weren't allowed to sleep over in other people's houses, even if they were really close family friends.
I've been there, yeah.
Certain things were totally banned.
Yes.
So it was a really like our family has always been really close, but what our parents really monitored us closely, and at the time we just thought it was like really crushing, and you're not letting me be me, I have to be an extension of you kind of thing. But now that we've grown up and we've seen the world and we've seen children go through horrible things because they didn't have the protection of their parents, we're actually all five of us turned around and we're like, thank you mum for everything that you've done and everything that you've protected us from. And I to be honest, when I started wearing hijab I was 6 years of age, and I only started because my mum was wearing it. I had no idea what it was about or like why I was doing it or anything. I just wanted to copy my mum. But that's not such a bad thing. Every child wants to be like their mother, and when you're that young.
Yes.
I was thinking about who inspires me. We had this conversation earlier, and I said exactly what you did, which was I'm inspired by people. I'm inspired by what makes them tick, how I can better myself, and I really could care less what religion you are, what your nationality. It doesn't mean anything to me. If it's positive, I'm taking it with me, inshallah. And I'm inspired, I'm really, really inspired by our youth. As much as the hard time that I give them, the fact that they turn up, especially the girls, because there are challenges there, and I do see it. And was it Imam Ali that said, "Don't expect your children to be like me because they live at a different time." The challenge is that when I hear my son talk or other girls talk, I'm like, didn't have this challenge. This is completely new to me. I'm going to try and support you as much as I can, but don't forget yourself. And also the fact that we should give them that space to always be loving and come back. There should be a revolving door, because this is their challenge and we won't understand it. And the other person who I look up to is, I don't know why I got emotional, my mum, may Allah bless her, because I look at the time that she passed away quite very young, and living in England, there was nobody where we lived. There was nobody who wore hijab, and she's the only person in her family that wears hijab, and that took a lot of courage. Because I remember, you know, when you have flashbacks at the abuse that she used to get from her family members. These are people who are religious and spiritual. And to be able to do that in England in that day, it's not like it's now where it's, you know, London is so cosmopolitan and you could just go to. I remember going for a halal meet. We had to travel miles. It was a day trip.
Every other street you see.
It was an absolute day trip, and she was young at the time. And at the time, I was like, I really can't relate to you. But when I look at her now, she always had a smile, and she was very self-confident. Gosh, she.
Alhamdulillah.
Thank you. She inspires me. So if there's any good that I do, it's because of her. But the mothers are so important, really, really important. I think, and if you have a mother that you can look up to, it's such a blessing because they genuinely do love you and they look out for the best. And it, you know, a lot of the times we say when we're growing up, I don't want to be anything like my mum. Oh my God, it's so embarrassing.
I remember saying that. Now I feel like I wish I can be half as good as she is.
Exactly.
And I think because we're daughters, we say that. I don't know if sons think the same. And although they might not, you know, when they're teenagers, but after they definitely, you know.
Especially when they start having family of their own.
Exactly.
Yes. It makes you really aware of the stress that you put your own parents through.
But I think following on from the ladies of Karbala, not that we're anything like them, but I think we do have a responsibility, as you said, Sarah, to inspire and to empower and to also nurture. I personally feel, as you know, Nisha, the children under my care are my children. So I will treat them that way, good or bad. But I feel that that's a legacy they left us. And I think it's important for people to know our religion is so merciful, and sometimes the people that we take out our frustration are our children, are the people close to us, and we almost become the moral police because we think we've got something so special that only we know how it should be. So
I was going to say that when I looked up, you know, women in Islam that are role models, I came across this article where I think it was by Huffington Post, and it says the 10 Muslim women that you should know, and there were so many in there. Then there's a few that stuck to my mind. So there was this one lady. So from the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it said that, you know, she questioned Prophet Muhammad about why everything that comes as a revelation from Quran is addressed to men only. And soon as she said that there was a revelation about how the equality of men and women in the Quran, so she is one of them. And then there was others. Till today, you know, there's an Iranian judge who was given a Nobel Prize for, you know, being a judge, and there's this woman who was the founder of the Korean University, who is the oldest in, I think it's in Iran as well, oldest degree granting university, and she was the founder of that. Then there was this another one who translated the whole Quran in Arabic, and a lot of universities use her version because she found others, because, you know, there's a verse in the Quran that says that men are allowed to beat their wives, and she came up with another terminology or Arabic meaning of it's not beating, it's just going away. And, you know, so there's so many women out there whose works we haven't recognized or we're not aware of.
But as we said, I think it's the women who get up and get the kids ready to school, or you know, face their struggles in a dignified way, not necessarily people that are on TV.
And also, you know how Hillary Clinton, you know, she's standing up, this is America we're talking about, she's standing up to be, you know, the first ever female candidate for presidential elections, right? And there's so many other Muslim countries who have had Muslim females who are the president of those countries and the prime minister of those countries. So I mean, Islam, with how it treats its women, and is
and you do have an argument where people would say females can't be leaders. So we'll quickly skip that one for those who believe that one.
There's room for improvement.
I do want to say I was really proud of. Not sure. I was proud of. Maybe that's a negative.
Not anymore?
term. No, I still am. Of the sister in hijab who was a fencer for America. I was extremely proud of her for so many reasons. One, because she's representing her religion, and she was sporty, and her parents supported her with that. I think in the Shia community we're quite supportive of girls being involved in sports and stuff, but her parents really supported her with that, and she chose a sport where she could wear her hijab, and she didn't make a big deal out of it. It was everybody else who made a big deal out of it, that you're representing America. And also because she was an ethnic minority as well, which was huge. Of course she lost. I say of course, I was a bit upset, but I was like, oh my.
She didn't get a medal though.
No, I don't think she did.
I think she did.
Well, I don't know.
It's a success that she actually was there, and I guess it.
But I thought that again, you know, we speak about fitness and being involved. Could be a role model to our sisters that you can wear hijab or find something that.
As a teenager, I actually remember just hating sports because I had a hijab on my head, and I thought, oh my god, I look hideous running with the scarf on my head. So I would just
it's very hot.
I feel like all eyes are on me, like laughing or something.
But there was that picture about the beach volleyball contestant as well. You know, there was two. There was an American one who had hardly any clothes on her, and there was the other one who had, you know, her hijab on her.
Wearing clothes don't make your sport harder to play.
Well, allegedly it slows you down, allegedly.
I remember my PE teacher in school.
We know better.
My PE teacher, she called up my parents and she said, during sports class, Sarah has to take her scarf off because it's a hazard. And my parents were like, oh, you know.
Yeah.
But you've got to think about this 1920, and this is another thing with our girls. I remember being in university, in secondary school, you couldn't wear hijab. It was a health and safety issue, and they would always say that, especially if you're in carpentry, what if your scarf gets stuck in a vice, and what if the Bunsen burner sets your hair alight and stuff.
And this was recently. I'm only 29. I was in high school, you know, not years and years and years ago that you think, oh, it was back then. It was still a big deal. I was wearing hijab, and it was like 50% of the school were Muslim. But the teachers still, I remember the deputy head called up my parents again, my poor parents, and she said that she doesn't think I should wear a long skirt because I'm going to trip over it and have an injury.
Respect comes from education. Once when they're educated to realise, you know, it's not about informing, like it's quite disrespectful to say to a girl, take your hijab off, it's hazardous. I think it's more about, can she wear a scarf, could she wear it in a way where it's wrapped around her?
No, I honestly don't think they actually had a point. I think it was just Islamophobia.
Of course.
Well, it's ridiculous. Like, girls have long hair, why aren't they being told they're going to catch on fire?
Put it in the buns. Well, I congratulate all the females and continue doing your good work. A lot of the time we don't get credit for everything that we do as mothers, sisters, daughters, etc. But your reward is wives, your cousins, etc. Your reward is
know your value, right?
Absolutely. Do hope you will join us on another episode of Ladies First. Do keep us in your jar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.